Hello, everybody. I'm back, and it's time again for Minutes with Milo show, Thursday night edition. So, welcome to the show, and I hope you're seeing it live. And if you are, jump into the chat. Tell me what you think live. And if you are, there we go. We're going out on the internet. That's good. That's what I like to see. Let me get my screen set up here so that eventually, when we go to looking at some of our information this evening, I'll be able to show you what I'm looking at. That way you won't think that I'm just making it up, which I can't make this stuff up, can I? I don't understand why it wants me to sign back into my chat. Oh yeah, well, I know I've closed a dockable window. Chat. Because you logged me out of it, and I'm using the stupid OBS software. Hey, Robert, how are you? Do me a favor, Robert. Type something else like, I don't know, Milo is the greatest, just so I can see if I'm really signed into the chat. Because, I don't know, I get a little window here that says, well, you're not signed into the chat. Sign into chat. So, I see your first comment. And there it is. The shiznit. Ooh. Is that the smell I smell? I thought I'd stepped in something here. But I'll take it. I'll take it because it comes from Roberto. Robert Bradford 1. And right now he is the crown #1 person in my chat. Yay. Alright. So tonight's show is about something, and like most of my shows, I go squirrel on the whole topic. And what does that mean? That means that I start out with one thing and something else catches my eye and boom, I'm on it. So, I will get to, at the end, probably my original idea for tonight's show because they're tied together. And I started with the original idea, and then as I was doing a little research on it, I found out people like to keep praying mantises as pets. Okay, I guess. And I did learn, and maybe I knew this, like lots of other things, there are memories in the back that, sometimes don't even make it to the forefront anymore just because, they're back there. But I may have known that there were different, I won't say styles, but there are different breeds of praying mantises. Now, full disclosure, I like that. Full disclosure, of course, like most of my thumbnails currently, since probably a month or so ago, maybe 2 months, that I'm using on my channel are generated by an artificial intelligence free version. And if you watched any of those shows, I talk about this almost every time. I used to use Grok 3, and that won't run on this computer now. Don't know why, but I'm using Gemini because it's free with my Google account. So anyway, that's where I'm doing my research, and that's what generates these images. And the pink praying mantis that this AI generated image used, I think, may be an exaggeration. There is an orchid breed, and there's a ghost breed, and something else of praying mantis. But it started out with just a normal green one like you'd see in your garden or on a flower or out in the yard. And I thought, well, let's try an orchid. And that's what it drew me. So maybe later we'll look at that and see how close it was. I don't know if they're pink. it made that one pink. Maybe they are pink. But just a word. I always have a word on AI. Don't trust it. Don't trust it. It's interesting. It's fun to mess with, but it will lie to you. I know it will. It'll make things up. It changes things, and sometimes it's very frustrating. Maybe if you bought and paid for, an upgraded version, it wouldn't be like that. But being the frugal dude that I am, and the shiznit, then I use the free stuff. Robert likes them in his garden, and I like them. I've got a bush that sits out next to my yard, next to my garage door in my yard, that every year there's at least one, maybe two or three in this bush. And it's not a huge bush. It's probably as round maybe as a 55-gallon drum lid. And it's probably 2 foot, 2.5 foot tall. And why they like it, it has these tiny little flowers that come out on it. And it's like a puffball almost. The flowers are on the outside, but underneath the flowers and the leaves are just spiny little branches, tiny little branches. So I think they fit in there really well because they can and it's thick on top. When it's fully bloomed, it's got its leaves, it's got its flowers. It's pretty thick. You don't really see down into it much. So I think they like to get in there and just wait for little bugs and doodads to come flying by and land on the flower, and they, eat them up. But I like to look at the bush because when I don't know if they're, and I know I've talked about praying mantises before, and some of this is going to be redundant. That's another good word. I like that. But they start out tiny, little brown critters, and then, is it the same one? I don't know. But then later, they get longer and they get green, and then bam, they're huge, and they're green, and different colors. So I like to watch and see how many I can see in the bush. And but anyway, I, I don't I don't think I knew that people would keep them as a pet. All right, so we're going to look at that. Why would you want one as a pet? I mean, I know they're great predators. If they were the size of a dog, like a German Shepherd or something like that, they'd really eat some stuff. Really eat some stuff. And I know that they are fought against each other because I know that maybe they're females, maybe they're males, whenever they fight, they'll fight like to the death, man. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that, but I think that's a thing. Seen brown ones and green ones, no pink ones so far. I think the pink ones, and we'll look at the ghost ones, are special bred for pets. We'll look into that. All right. And most of this stuff, I asked Gemini, give me some background to find me some videos. And we'll see what we're talking about. So let me get it set up, because I originally started at the top of, if you never used AI, you ask it a question and it gives you your answer and you scroll up and read it, and then you ask it another question, blah, 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 and it goes on and on. So at the top, I was asking it my original question, and then that's when the squirrel happened. I said, what? Squirrel? And I started looking at something else. So I've got to get back to, so I want to start the show off with the pet aspect, because I think that's interesting, and then we'll go into my original thought. And why don't I tell you what it is? It's a surprise. All right, let's see. Okie dokie. Here we go. Oh, there we go. I'm teeny tiny up in the corner. And what I'm reading Now, Robert doesn't seem to mind the red text. I asked him last time. I guess it's a hair in my eyeball. It's killing me. I can see it. I can feel it. It's not a beard hair. Oh, wait. I get it. It's not a beard hair. It might be a hair, or it might be a piece of my boggin hair. I don't know. But I think I got it. It was tickling my eyelashes. All right. So let me scroll up just a little bit. So it might seem, Gemini starts off, it might seem strange to want a miniature alien predator in your living room, especially after learning, about something that's it's giving it away. Oh, so skip that part. Start out with why would you want one? Number one reason is they're like uncuddly cats. A lot of cats are uncuddly. Why do you jump so far? Why can't I just smoothly scroll to there? Oh my gosh. One little roll of a mouse button and it jumps like that. I can't just All right. Many keepers of praying mantises as a pet describe mantises as having cat-like personalities. If you own a cat, personalities are across the board. You know that. They're clean. They spend a lot of time grooming themselves, their eyes, and their legs meticulously. If you've seen one in the wild, most of the time they're just standing real still, not moving, waiting for something to come along. But every once in a while, you'll catch one, and they can roll their heads 180 degrees, and then they wipe off they got huge eyes, right? And then they wipe off this eye. And they do. You know, you can catch them moving around and grooming themselves. Curiosity. They're one of the few insects that will actually watch you. And why? Well, they probably think you're trying to kill them. Now, I don't kill praying mantises. My cat will. And if I can catch her, I'll try to save the little guy before she just swats him about and makes his wings come out and roll over and he's dead. All right. So they'll watch you because they can rotate their heads 180 degrees and have incredible 3D vision. They'll track your movement across a room. They're intelligent. While intelligent is a strong word for a bug, they are very alert and seem to recognize their owners as non-threats over time. So, like I said, if I find one running around on the ground, I'll try to, hold my hand up and get him to come into my hand so I can put him up on a branch because I know the cat is lurking out there and trying to jump on anything that moves and kill it. So get it up on my hand, and you're trying to be like, I'm just taking you over here to a bush, and you'll get close to it, and then they'll fly off onto the ground again. And it's like, all right, there you go. You're on your own. But apparently, if you're nice to them, then they'll perceive you as non-threats. All right, just like a cat. If you have a cat, they can be antisocial. And my cat, and I know I've talked about this before, when she's outside, she won't come to you. You can say, hi, kitty, and she'll go, oh, no, a human, and run around. It's like, man, I let you out of the house like 15 minutes ago. It's like, but if she comes in, she's like, oh, hi, friend. Where's my food? Rub my back. Scratch my ears. Very, very different. So maybe that's why they think they're cat-like, because even though the cat won't come to me, she doesn't, hide from me pretty much because she knows I'm not a threat. She knows who I am. Low maintenance. Now that's always a plus. But here's something that I'm not really keen on. All right, so if you know bird owners, they keep them in a cage a lot of times, most of the time. Then some people, bird owners, will open the door and let the birds come out. Don't do that. I wouldn't want to do that. But now, if you're keeping a praying mantis, all right, this is where it talks about low maintenance and space saving. If you're living in an apartment, you have a busy schedule. A mantis is an ideal low impact pet. They have a small footprint. Yeah, you want the true ladybugs, not those silly Japanese things. And I've talked about those before, how to tell the difference in the spots and their coloring and and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, ladybugs are cool. Uh, Granddaddy longleg spiders are really good to have around, and I've got a lot of those. As I understand, they're one of the most poisonous spiders there are, but their mouths are so tiny on their little body, they can't bite. That's just what I've read. They can't bite a human. They eat like, okay, Robert says the orange and yellow ones are invasive. So, yeah, then that's the ones you see most of the time, especially around windowsills, door jambs. They like to huddle together like a stink bug. You may think you have a bunch of ladybugs, but they're basically those Japanese bugs. Granddaddy longlegs. They eat mites, I believe, is one of their preferred meals, and those are the little bugs that get all over your plants, and they can damage flowers and tomatoes and all kinds of things like that. So, you have Granddaddy longlegs. Don't pick them off and start pulling their legs off. Got to be smacked. Of course, that's a kid thing usually. Got a lot of those, and I know this is a little bit off topic too, Robert. They look like large mosquitoes, and you'll see them in your house. Real spiny legs. They're almost half-inch long, maybe around that size. But they look like mosquitoes, and that's what we originally kind of thought they were. So we used to try. Oh no, there's a don't do that either. Apparently, they're a predator of real mosquitoes. So if you see something that looks like a real giant mosquito, it's like, dang, how did that mosquito get that big? Don't kill it. Try to rescue it. Robert's always heard that Granddaddy longlegs have enough venom to kill an elephant. Never heard that, but I had heard, like I said, they were I'm going to just say one of the most venomous spiders there are. But they're, like I said, their mouths are so tiny, they're no threat to humans. Just aphids and mites and different little bugs like that. All right. So where were we? Oh, they're a low impact pet. Have a small footprint. Most only need a small enclosure about 3 times their body length and height. All right, so here's my rant about the birds. We got sidetracked. Birds are the same kind of thing. You know, they keep them in a cage. Some people let them out. Some people don't. Birds like to fly around. Praying mantises, this is anything wild, wants to be wild. So, you know, birds have been raised in captivity, especially like these little parakeets or cockatiels or little birds like it. Most all birds that people have are raised, hatched, born in captivity. But in my brain, they look out through the bars and think, that's where I should be, out there. Same thing with the praying mantis. You're keeping them in a 3x3, 3 times their body length and 3 times their body height. So basically, you could keep them in a small enclosure, 9 inches long. They're not very tall. So let's say, 5 inches high. I mean, that's a very small space. And, you know, they're pretty good size. And when they're in the wild, they can fly. They go from one plant to the next plant. They like it there. They settle down. They, you know, find their prey and all that kind of stuff. I would want a big cage or something, a big enclosure for my praying mantis. And maybe even a special place where you could like let it get out, crawl around, and then, you know, pick it back up, put it back in the cage after an hour or so. I don't know. But people keep them very small, and that's one of the benefits to having a praying mantis as a pet is you can have a small apartment with a small enclosure, maybe a terrarium. You know, those are cool. Like a small fish tank, a couple of plants, a little water in there. You know, that might be good. What's Robert saying? I've always heard, okay, nope, I heard wrong. Facts checked myself. So they can't kill an elephant, but they're venomous, right? Or I don't know. We can get into semantics. They have some type of poison, venom that is not good. Don't eat them. All right? Even though they can't bite you, don't eat them. I don't know if it's poison or venom. I think it's venom. Might be poison. All right. Small footprint. Occasional feeding. All right. So a praying mantis only eats every 2 to 3 days. That's cool. Quiet and odorless. And like a hamster or a bird, they make zero noise and they don't smell. Don't keep crickets as pets. My wife had a bearded dragon and she would get crickets to feed it and they would chirp all the time. Crickets do not make good quiet pets. All right, so here's the one that says living art. The orchid factory. Some people keep them purely for their stunning looks. Breeders have made designer species, that's what the word I was looking for, available that look like flowers. The orchid mantis is bright pink and white, perfectly mimicking a flower petal. Dead leaves. The ghost mantis looks exactly like a dried, shriveled leaf. Jewels. Some species have metallic green or vibrant turquoise eye spots on their wings. No long-term commitment. All right. A dog lives 15 years. A mantis typically 6 to 12 months. For some, a short lifespan is a pro because it allows them to experience the full life cycle of the creature, from a tiny nymph to a flying adult, without the decade-long responsibility of a vertebrate. All right, so go to the visual showcase. All right, so we're going to look at some videos. All right. So let's see. There's orchid, ghost, and spiny flower mantises. If you want to see how beautiful and diverse these insects can be, this video from Bugs in Cyberspace is perfect. It features close-up of some of the most popular species in the hobby. What you'll see is stunning shots of an orchid mantis, a ghost mantis, and a spiny flower mantis. So let's see what this looks like on the video.
Skip the next 4 minutes if you don't want to hear me blabber-mouthing about mantises. If you just want to see some videos of them, go forward about 4 minutes or look in the chapters down.
Okay, so let me see if I can get this guy in here. And this is Bugs in Cyberspace. It's a YouTube channel. And he says he's going to rant for about 4 minutes on mantises. All right, so look in the background here. Get him. There we go. That works out. See in the background over here? You see
in the
behind him?
description area, and you
All these little plastic containers and all that stuff. Man, I just can't see keeping them in here. And now he's got things in there, and we'll talk about what they eat. They eat small insects. I think they'll catch just about anything that comes towards them and eat it. So let's see if we can just skip through to get to some of the pictures. Here we go. Let's see what he says about this. Play.
and it was partly on the basis of a specimen that I sent to him.
Here's another mantis we're rehabilitating. It's a ghost mantis. Hopefully it'll
Ghost mantis.
show you its raptorial forearms, 4 legs. What do you say, Peter?
Lohit just said 4 limbs in his talk
4
at
limbs.
the American Museum of Natural History, but he also said 4 legs, and I say 4 legs. Oh, the smaller one.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad you found
up here's the
this.
front.
It's just a tiny little arm by comparison.
Yeah.
But I think it's molted twice since it lost the
Yeah, I
4
think
legs.
so.
Yeah.
You're being
male.
crazy.
Does it
Fully.
look like there are any spines on the little one?
Yeah.
That's crazy looking.
Oh.
Whoa, dude. Hold still.
Captain Hook.
Captain Hook. You're a crook, Captain Hook.
It's hard to see where his head is. Okay, I guess it's over here. And these are his legs folded up. So they say he's mimicking the leaf blowing in the yeah, there's his head.
Your poor little arm.
Alright, let's see what else we got. What's this guy here got?
It was also my first time seeing one not like on someone's property in the wild. That's a beautiful mantis. Check that out. Wow.
So that one's not green. That looks like a normal
Probably
mantis,
fertilized.
except a different,
We've been seeing the males for weeks.
Like usually I can tell that they've laid already because the pleuron's like slightly, you see how it's like slightly distended, like it's kind of folded over.
Alright, let's get out of that. See what
Giraffe
the next
mantis.
one is. Okay, so this dude looks like
And
a stick.
It's not an adult yet. It's getting very big. And
Too big for a container.
yeah, it won't be able to molt because the container is not tall enough.
Alright, so that looks like a terrarium. If you can see the moisture on the inside, it's got some plants. It looks like it's got some, I don't know, moss, something there in the bottom. But now they're saying the container's not big enough for it to molt. So apparently, limit the space of the container, it limits the size of your bug.
Ideally, a molting container will be at least twice as tall as the mantis is tall. And so the only container we could find around was this older one. And what was in here before, Kelsey?
Your mom's stick bug.
We found one in the yard, and stick bugs were a very special thing to my mom back in the years where she and I raised over 100 species of stick and leaf insects together. She named the one that Kelsey and I found in the yard Penelope. And so we're going to reuse this container.
Alright, let's skip that. Oh,
Eating another fly.
no, so that's a mantis eating a fly, a house fly. Uh-oh, here we go.
Sometimes Peter and I look inside of this enclosure and we can't find the mantis because it looks a lot like the fake orchid.
So we got a fake orchid in there. Uh-oh, look at that. Oh, they gave it a fly. Now it's eating the fly. Quivering with delight. Oh,
Look who molted.
dang. Check
Beautiful adult male spiny flower mantis.
that thing out. Spiny flower, man.
Nice wings.
Man, that's crazy.
Beautiful.
They got that, I don't want that one. That looks dead. But if you notice what that mantis here was standing on, it looks like that shelf liner paper. Yeah, I know. That's crazy looking. See, here's that spot, eye spot. I don't know if I read that part in the AI description. Maybe it's later that I read before I got on the show, because I read through this stuff before I got on the show. But it talked about some of these having eye spots on their wings. And that's what that is, I'm sure.
Thanks. Beautiful. Here's the spiny flower mantis's exoskeleton.
Okay, so that
you can see they even shed their antennae.
Antennae.
Beautiful. Good job.
A plus, plus, plus. Man, look at his eyes are blue. Uh-oh. Oh, got it. Thanks for lunch. Oh, man. Mantis's cat. No. See, now it's grooming its eyes. But I wonder, here's something I'm wondering. They showed it, they gave it a housefly. And we'll talk about what you feed your pet mantis and why you feed it certain things. But they gave it the whole bug. Now, when a spider catches a fly, it just bites into it and it sucks the juices out of the fly. And then and when that happens, the bug just kind of, the meal just kind of crumbles on itself, and they throw the rest of it away. But I wonder if the mantis eats the entire body, legs, eyes, crunchy parts, wings, in this case a housefly wings. I wonder if it eats the whole thing. I mean, they didn't show, I don't know how long, let's just say it does. I wonder how long a mantis would take to chew up and eat the whole thing. And it may do something like eat a major portion of the body and then just throw the rest down. I don't know. Good question. I don't have anybody to ask. Yeah, you'd think they would release the fly into the enclosure so the mantis could hunt it. That's true. That's what my wife used to do with the crickets. So the bearded dragon was in a really good size, because she was a good sized dragon, in a good sized aquarium. I won't call it a pro tip, but if you're interested in keeping bearded dragons or some type of reptile or something like that, she got lucky and she found somebody that had a really good sized aquarium and it had a leak. And so they'd put it on Facebook, because now it's no longer an aquarium, it's just a glass container. It won't hold the water anymore. So if you're going to do that, look around, try to find something that's got a leak. Don't be careful, because if you find a cracked one, it may present a danger to whatever you're keeping it in there. And if it's huge and you have to carry it, the suckers are heavy. You don't want it breaking on you and getting the glass everywhere or whatever. So, good idea finding one that has a leak. Bad idea finding one that's cracked so bad that it might be a danger to you or your pet. But anyway, back to this. There's the cat. Now they're showing the cat grooming like the mantis.
72 inside. Kelsey's feeding bugs, and I'll show you what I'm up to today. Jumping spider video went out. It's Friday today, and I'm spending a few minutes in the greenhouse here. Gonna fill up these trays with winter greens. Lettuce is doing good. Spinach is doing good. First round of arugula is doing good.
Arugula,
Swiss chard.
That is.
It's not the most cilantro. It's not the most magnificent garden or greenhouse, but
Right,
not too bad.
Boom. Those are done. All right. So, interesting species that we saw. That's crazy to look at those things. I mean, to me, praying mantis has been just the green ones and different colored brown ones or whatever out in the garden. All right. So here's more of what Gemini says about is good. 5 top reasons that praying mantises make good pets. This video from Spooderpods is a great follow-up to your question about why someone would want to keep one. It breaks down the appeal for beginners and expert keepers, what you'll learn, blah, blah, blah. That's a dude. Yeah. So, I don't think I've really seen the exoskeleton of a molted mantis. I mean, like I said, I've seen them. I've got a bush that they like to run around on a lot. But I don't think I've ever seen the exoskeleton of one. I've never found deer antler cast off either. And I mean, I don't spend weeks and days in the forest looking, but I've got a small herd, if you want to call them that, of deer that run around the property and through the fields here locally and that kind of stuff. But I've never seen cast off antlers either. I know people do find them. So it's not unusual for me not to see one. Where are the 5 reasons? Couple of videos. There's one of my renditions. All right, so let's get up here. Let's see what this video says about why some of the top reasons are for keeping mantises.
Here are 5 reasons praying mantises make great pets.
There we go, right into it. Spooderpods.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Spooderpods. I'm David and today we are looking at 5 reasons why praying mantises make great pets. Now we have lots of praying mantises, we love them, we think they're awesome, and I want to share my top 5 reasons why I think they're really great and maybe you should consider one too. Now coming at number 5 is the variety. Praying mantises come in such a wide variety of shapes, sizes, colours and behaviours, temperaments. All sorts of different things about them. There's so many different types within the umbrella of praying mantis, so there is very likely going to be one that you're going to like. Now my favourite is the ghost mantis. It's not everyone's favourite, but I think they're really awesome and they look amazing, and just the way they've adapted them with like little aliens and stuff. But there's going to be one that you like. There's so many different types and they're so cool. Coming at number 4 is they are a display invertebrate, which means they're always going to be out and you're going to be able to see them. For the most part, praying mantises will hang on the ceiling or hang from some sort of bit of ornamentation or plant matter in your enclosure, and you'll be able to generally see them, or at least see them if you turn the enclosure around. And that is really cool because...
Alright, so one thing I like about this guy, the other video looked like they were keeping them in Tupperware jars. This guy here, if you looked behind him while he's talking, you can see some of the enclosures, and here you can see them up closer. It's got plexiglass walls. It looks very clean, but it's got tiny air holes drilled all in it. And then down here into the bottom, in here, you can see it's got like a feeding dish or a water dish or something in it. And then here's his mantis, and I'm sure these are fake plants. You know what I mean?
Some invertebrates that people love to keep can hide a lot, can be difficult, and it's not to say that praying mantises won't hide sometimes, but as a general rule, you'd always be able to see them, and if you have a pet, you kind of want to be able to enjoy and observe them, and that's one of the reasons I really like them. Now, number 3, because there's such a wide variety of them, there is a praying mantis for every skill level. There are some which are really easy to keep, like for example the ghost mantis or a dead leaf mantis, which is a bit larger, but you'll be able to find one for your skill level. If you're a beginner, there will be a mantis that you'll be able to look after effectively. If you're more experienced, you can get much more advanced species that will have temperature and humidity requirements, special feeding requirements, all sorts. So there is a mantis for every single difficulty level, and I kind of like that, because if you're new, you can ease yourself in. If you're more experienced, you can try something a little harder to keep and a little bit more, I don't know, rewarding because it's more difficult. Now, coming in at number 2, especially if you get a praying mantis when it is younger, you get to see it through all its different life stages, and these guys will molt a fair amount as they get older, and it's really rewarding to see them grow up and then reach that final stage where they get their wings and their full size, because it is a really big change. And obviously there's some pitfalls during this process, but with Boo, for example, again my ghost mantis, I've seen him right from when he was a little nymph all the way through to his adult size now with wings, and it's been really rewarding to see that, and it's a really enjoyable process to be part of and see that you've raised this mantis from a little bub all the way to their full size. Now, my favourite reason why mantids make great pets is they are quite active sometimes if you've got the environmental conditions right, and they're, as a general rule, voracious eaters. If you feed them, you'll be able to see them hunt, you'll be able to see them move around and actually engage with hunting their prey. Some other inverts, you will not be able to see this, or it will be like a sudden moment. These guys, once they've got their prey, depending on how morbid you're feeling, you can watch it, and it is quite fascinating to see how they hunt and how they strike at their prey.
All right, so Robert mentioned that. Why not turn the fly loose? One of the things, I guess, if you have the correct enclosure, so the fly then doesn't, escape the mantis and then start buzzing around your house, that would be okay. I think we'll look, it shows about some of the other things that they might eat. So, yeah, it does seem like this guy likes to put them in there and let them stalk their prey. Maybe the other people were feeding them with tweezers just so they could actually videotape them and know exactly, when they're going to eat and what they're eating and that kind of stuff.
Are there any reasons you'd recommend mantises as a pet that I've missed out? Please feel free to drop in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, take care and see you later.
Later, Gator. All right, so spooder pods, David. That was pretty nice. That's nice. I mean, it was informative, and he showed you some. That was good. All right. So, getting kind of long into the show, so I'm going to go back to why or what originally started this. Now, let me see if I can find what it talks about, what AI says about their feeding. Okay. Okay. Right here. A note to potential owners. All right. If you're buying captive bred, pet mantises are usually hatched from the egg cases in a controlled environment, meaning they never come in contact with outside elements, and I'll tell you why in a second. And you have to have something safe for them to feed on. Owners feed them store-bought flies, roaches, or crickets that are raised in clean colonies to avoid what my original show was going to be about. Okay, so what it was originally going to be about is this nasty thing called a horseworm parasite. All right, now several shows back, way back in the day, I did a show on zombie ants, I think it was, and the zombie ants got infected with a fungus. Now, it was still a parasite, but I think it was a fungus that twisted up the brain and made him do crazy things and all that stuff. So I saw this horseworm parasite video and I thought, dang, that's crazy. So I wanted to look it up. And when I started looking it up, I realized people keep these things, praying mantises, for a pet. And one of the things that you want is like it was talking about. You want to get a hold on, get over here. You want to get a mantis that was bred to be a pet, not necessarily a wild one. You want to feed it clean insects, crickets, houseflies, and here's why. All right, so the horsehair worm, what did I call it once? Did I call it a horsehair? Call it horse something. Or a gordonia worm is famous for its dramatic, almost alien-like exit from the praying mantis and its ability to mind control its host. What is a horsehair worm? Horsehair worms belong to the phylum Nematomorphia. They are extremely thin, long, and look like a piece of dark string or a strand of hair, hence the name. While a mantis is only a few inches long, these worms can grow up to 12 to 36 inches inside the mantis's body cavity, coiling themselves tightly like a spring. The knot. They are also called Gordian worms because they often tangle themselves into complex, impossible-looking knots when they mate in water. All right. The horsehair cycle, they call it the Trojan horse life cycle. All right. So here's why you don't want to feed it things from the wild or get one from the wild, a praying mantis. The mantis doesn't usually get infected by drinking the worm larva directly. Instead, it happens through a multi-step process. Okay, so this horsehair worm is like a mosquito. Its eggs, the adults mate in water, the eggs are laid in water, and they turn into the larva or whatever in water. All right, so water beginning. The worm eggs hatch in water. Small aquatic insects like mosquito larvae or midges eat the worm larva. Step 1. The carrier. These small insects grow up and fly onto land carrying the dormant worm eggs hatch in water. Small aquatic insects like mosquitoes, larvae, and midges eat the worm larva. Then let's just use the mosquito larva. The mosquito larvae eat the eggs of the horsehair worm. They grow up to be mosquitoes and then they fly off onto land. All right. They're carrying the dormant worm inside them because apparently, here's something I don't understand. They eat the egg. Do they swallow the stupid thing whole? Or it seems like they would chomp it up and just break it up like, I don't eat an egg. Okay. Here's a stupid example in my brain. I find a chicken egg. I'm hungry. Do I swallow the stupid thing whole? And if I did, would the chick hatch inside my stomach? I don't know. But according to this scenario, mosquito larvae eat the worm egg and it doesn't get digested. Then when they grow into an adult, the worm egg is dormant in their body. Okay? The praying mantis then, being a predator, eats the infected fly or cricket, or in this case, mosquito. I'm sticking with the mosquito. And it doesn't squish the egg of the worm or the worm that's growing inside this mosquito now. Once inside the mantis, the worm begins to grow, absorbing nutrients directly through its skin while the mantis continues to live and eat. So it's like a tapeworm in a human, except a tapeworm attaches somehow inside the intestine and absorbs the nutrients People are just eating food like crazy. They're not gaining weight because the tapeworm's growing bigger. Okay? The most fascinating and creepy part of the relationship, it's a relationship the mantis knows nothing about at this point, unless he feels kind of, ooh, man, there's something. Wow. I wonder what I ate. It's how the worm completes its life cycle. Since the adult worm must be in water to breed, but the mantis lives on land, the worm hacks the mantis's brain. When the worm is mature, it releases proteins that mimic the mantis's own nervous system signals. This causes the mantis to become obsessed with finding water. How does it find water? I'm glad you asked. Specifically, the mantis becomes attracted to horizontally polarized light. Right here, horizontally polarized light. The kind of light that reflects off the surface of pond or pools of water. The mantis eventually walks into the water and drowns. It doesn't do it on purpose. The worm is controlling its brain through these release of brain hormone things. As soon as the mantis hits the water, the worm erupts from the mantis's abdomen to swim away and find a mate. Alien all over again on a mantis insect scale. Crazy. And that's what got me started on this mantis as a pet. All right. So the worm, horsehair worm larva thing, parasite is not a threat to humans. Only to bugs, only to insects. But don't go eating one, okay? Don't go eating one. Does the mantis survive this? No. In most cases, the worm is so large by the time it exits the mantis, it has displaced or consumed many of the mantis's internal organs. Even if the mantis doesn't drown, and I'll tell you why it drowns, the physical damage of the worm bursting out of it usually is fatal. The Alien movie in real life. So here, note, the worms are completely harmless to humans, pets, and livestock. They can only be parasitized invertebrates like insects and crustaceans. All right. So you can't tell if your mantis is infected easily by this. What I saw was somebody took a mantis and dropped its abdomen into a cup of water. Word of warning. If you've got a mantis as a pet and you want to test it, apparently a praying mantis breathes through its abdomen, holes in its abdomen, not through its mouth like us. So if you dunk its abdomen into water, you're basically drowning the poor thing. That will cause the worm to come out, but you're killing it by testing. It gives you some visual clues to maybe if it's infected. But like it talked about, by domestically raised praying mantises, by clean flies, house flies that are born and raised in a clean environment, and they haven't had access to water or any of that potential area where, this larva might be. Let's see. So here we go. And it freaked me out to see this. Let's see if this is one of them. Yeah, a rough way to go. We're going to look at this and see if this is the one that I saw. Maybe it wasn't, because what I saw was just like a reel on Facebook. All right, hold it. This is it. Balls. Damn it. Balls. All right, so here we go. Let's start back at the beginning. Poor little mantis. They've got him tweezers. Here we go. Dip him into the water. He's struggling. Here it comes. Crazy. This is crazy. And I didn't think it was real. Didn't think it was real. You look at the size of that worm. Now the poor mantis he's gotta be dead. For one thing, you're stuffing its breathing apparatus into water. Oh, quit it. Okay? Not good. The next thing, this worm is just wiggling its way out. Crazy. Let's see what this next one is.
The honey.
Oh, let's pause it right here. I don't know why we got a honey badger going on. We're going to see.
Honey badger and the mantis. You have to admit, these are the most fearless creatures in the animal world. But while the honey badger really knows no fear, the mantis is sometimes afraid for its life, well, especially on 2 occasions. You don't need me to tell you what's the first one. After mating, males often die. Yes, some female mantises bite off the heads of males after their wedding night. But there's another dangerous situation, and it really doesn't leave mantises any chance.
Oh, look at this guy. Wow, see all these wrinkles and stuff? That's the worm. That's crazy.
Chance of survival.
Maybe that was fake. Oh, no.
Take a close look at what's about to happen now. This man is holding a common mantis. He puts it into the water, although mantises don't like it very much, and what looks like a scene from the Alien movie is a creature called a hairworm. This is just an invertebrate, but it can take over the mind of a mantis and fill its entire body. Well, before this happens, the hairworm makes a rather difficult journey to get to the final destination and carry out its plan. It all starts with eggs laid in a river or pond. Over time, they develop into larvae eaten by other aquatic insects. Or rather, insects just think they're eating them. Though actually, the hairworm larva just needs to hitch a ride to get into someone else's body. Once inside, it burrows into the flesh of the host, curls up, grows a hard shell, and waits. It doesn't take long before the insect matures, grows wings, and emerges from the water. That's quite handy, because the hairworm larva has great plans for the future. It needs to get the mantis to eat the host insect. And that's when the real life of an adult hairworm begins. The life of a terrifying parasite. But the main goal of any living creature is to leave offspring.
All right, so there you have it. That's what I started this whole show thinking of and turned into people keep praying mantises as pets, but that's what got me started on this whole journey. And I wanted to save it to the end just because it blew my mind. Could you tell? It blew my mind so much that I had to, I had to show it. I had to do a show on it. And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. Now, like I said, I did a show months ago that was about ants, zombie ants. I'm pretty sure zombie ants. The same kind of deal. They got infected, messed with their brain, and they just, did the bidding of their parasite. And this is the same thing. Mantis don't dive into water for fun because they drown. But when the parasite is mature enough, crazy. Nature is crazy. God's creatures are just programmed to do certain things. All right. You leaving, Robert? All right, man. Have a good evening. Appreciate you stopping by. And show's about to come to an end anyway, so you're not going to miss much. But it mimics brain chemicals. It makes the mantis find a puddle of water, find a pond, find a bucket of water, whatever it is, and jump into it and die while it squirms away like an alien on alien movies. All right. So that's it. Robert's left. I'm leaving. Y'all can hang around if you want. Look at some of my other videos. Look at some of my cooking videos. Look at some of the old shows. See if you can find the ant fungus show and look at that. But anyway, I appreciate you coming by. If you didn't watch it live, that's fine. These go up as videos, of course, later. I'd like to put more podcasts out. Call this a podcast if you like. The number here, I like to do this, but I'm not very good at it, is a number that you can call during the show, and I'll talk to you on the air. So Thursdays at 9, check my other videos, and I've got Facebook, Reddit, X, and Instagram. All Minutes of Milo Show. All right. Appreciate y'all stopping by. Tune in next week. Leave me a comment, a like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family, your enemies, your hosts. Woo-hoo. All right. Where do I stop streaming and say yeah?